Welcome back, everyone, to the Go AI podcast. I hope that you're not going to be disappointed because today's guest is Connor Rafferty. So we thought, we're almost, halfway through Q2, kind of rounding the first half of the year, and that's crazy to think about. I feel like we just rolled out our first 2025 podcast, and yet here we are sitting. And so, just as fast as time goes, AI is also moving just as rapidly. And so, we wanted to kind of give you an update on where the industry is and what are some kind of changes that you should be aware of when it comes to AI.
Yeah, so the last time we did like a solo duo episode was in December, and in January, DeepSeek came out, and that was the Chinese AI that was able to match ChatGPT in ability while also doing so at a fraction of the cost and computing power. That kind of kicked off the year by showing, okay, there's a lot of room for innovation and radically rethinking just how we can approach AI. And that's been really the theme of this year so far, which is, if the past few years have been large language models instantly generate content for you and expanding from the text content into images and videos and saying, okay, that's what AI is going to help with us in a large way, is just instantly giving you things. The trend now is, okay, let's step back a bit and let's see if we can, instead of taking a more is more approach, take a less is more approach on the development side and see how much you can preserve in terms of what we've already been able to accomplish, while also figuring out new ways to radically reorient just how AI works and what it generates for us. One example being reasoning models, where instead of the usual chatbots that you just give it a prompt and it just, as quickly as it can, gives you something, a reasoning model takes your prompt and reworks it and reworks it and reworks it. And it might take half a minute to give you an answer, but that half a minute is half a minute well spent for the AI, because the answer that it gives you will be much more in depth and much better. So yeah, I would say there's a lot that we're seeing that's very just, it's like, wow, we're still, every month it seems, and certainly on a yearly basis with AI, there's always some huge thing that happens where just the entire industry steps back and is like, okay, now we have a new goal and just a new way to just keep climbing and climbing.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Mhm.
the cheetah, we're running really, really fast, but, you have to pivot just as fast when you run into the wall.
Yes.
And you were mentioning, the Chinese company. I I mean, I was reading about this cut, I mean, VC capital that was invested in technologies at their
Mhm.
knees, right?
Mhm.
Because some of these enterprises had hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions invested into this new technology, and then, not to say it's not good anymore, but when that came out or that rolled out, it was like, whoa, and this is affordable, right?
Mhm.
So how do you think businesses were affected with that rollout? I mean,
I do think that the larger AI tech companies were able to really assuage businesses, maybe not all of them, but across the board. I think the larger AI companies were able to kind of land on their feet there and
okay.
kind of say, listen, we know that we're spending a ton of money on AI, but a lot of what we're spending on is for the compute, meaning the data storage and just the processing in these massive data centers.
'Cause it's expensive.
It's expensive, and basically the attitude is, listen, we can definitely figure out how to do what DeepSeek does and identifying efficiencies and how to make it run more efficiently, but you're still going to want a lot of investment in AI simply because you'll want to scale it, but also just what we can do with AI is not limited to what we're doing right now. We're going to be able to find new uses and more ambitious uses for AI that will be using that computing power. But the nice thing about it for businesses is that eventually it's just going to keep getting more and more affordable as these AI companies find better ways to just make the AI happen at much less of a cost.
Just like the Chinese company did.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to see more of that, is what
Yes.
you're anticipating.
Yes, I think that was a cold splash of water on the face, what DeepSeek did in terms of, because a lot of the philosophy was, well, it's an expensive technology to develop. And so just the more money you're pouring into it, the more powerful a system you'll have. And DeepSeek said, well, you kind of just need innovation. You can't just have brute force in terms of just keep developing, keep developing, keep developing. You still need to get a little more theoretical and philosophical about like, well, what are some innovative uses here? With DeepSeek, I mean, this kind of simplifies it, but really
I think that's what our viewers are looking for, though.
what what DeepSeek did was basically looked at it as saying, all right, we can have, instead of it being like a one mind AI to where you give it anything, it's sort of like chop it down almost into like a mini company where you give the AI a prompt and then there's like little different AIs within it that handle different subject matter. So in the case of like a chatbot like DeepSeek, it's, or a reasoning model, I mean, if there's a certain AI that handles like legal questions, what, explain this law to me, it hands it off to that AI that specializes. So basically, that was kind of the innovation there was, if we can have just little smaller AIs that are not taking as much computing power and just,
But
having,
experts in, what they are going to be reasoning.
yeah, so just like little specialist AIs instead
Mhm.
of trying to have some huge like God mind AI
Yeah.
that's just a massive computing drain. That's kind of that was kind of a bit that's been a big influence, I would say, since then, is kind of a lot of AI companies are thinking, okay, maybe we should try out this specialist AIs and then just have it work like almost like a little corporation.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and you mentioned reasoning. It's funny. Ever since we did the update in December, I feel like more and more companies, real estate, sales teams are looking at AI avatars and investing in
Mhm.
developing those. And if you rewind to the beginning of this podcast, I feel like
Mhm.
people would have thought we were crazy talking about AI, them investing in AI avatars. And so it really has only been, call it 18 months. And here we are, local companies are really taking it seriously and seeing, okay, how can we be more efficient within our operations? If I can clone, myself and have an avatar for certain things, this could really help from a content creation standpoint, speed up the sales cycle, have more transparency, better communication processes. So um, it's just funny how much has changed,
Mhm.
and also it's exciting to see not how much it's changed, but also how businesses are adapting, and even businesses I just didn't think would.
Yeah, that is one of the big um, changes that I've noticed just in guests coming in, is that when we started, you'd have guests who are kind of like, I've been hearing about AI, but I don't really know if we're doing anything with AI. I don't know.
I didn't know.
Or, I'm kind of on this podcast to learn what I could do.
Hmm.
And now we have guests coming in and they know what they're doing with AI. They have AI implemented, they're using it regularly. So it's kind of interesting to see, that every guest now seems to have an AI story ready for us.
Yeah. And I mean, even just at Guardian Out Digital, I mean, we have been incorporating different AI tools within our clients' businesses, advertising, being able to be more efficient. So just us in general, too. I'm proud of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. It's just, there really is with AI, there's something for everybody
Yeah, and I
in every
mean,
business.
something that is also very exciting from a podcast standpoint, so shameless plug to Resonate Recording. But podcasting is no longer a niche medium. In the US, 70 million people listen to podcasts in 2023, and the number is projected to rise even further from Statistica.com, reaching over 110 million listeners by 2029. So we're grateful that we have Resonate Recording for the production and editing of this podcast, but also from our own internal business processes. We're finding that more and more companies are leaning into audio and video for SEO because of, things like generative AI,
Mhm.
where, hey, if I want a video on how to something or I want a podcast, there needs to be a catalog of this content out there and it needs to be, quote, optimized so that Google and search engines alike can find it and present it to the searcher when they are searching. So, from an SEO standpoint, I think there's a lot of myths out there, and I couldn't be more excited at the new opportunities that we're going to have to optimize content here in the future.
Yeah, and the thing about AI and computer vision in particular, where you train AI to basically see or hear content, that makes it easier for like Google
Hmm.
and to have technology that can basically read your video or podcast like it would looking through the text of a blog.
Yep.
And the same rules apply where, there's still keywords and sentences and just phrases, basically just elements within the text itself. And the text here could mean a video or audio recording as well that are key to what people are searching. And
No,
that's what the computer vision allows them to find.
100%.
Yeah.
And what's also interesting is, Google, they're obviously intelligent and they were smart enough to buy YouTube way back when. So they own YouTube, and YouTube right now is the number one platform for listeners to go consume their podcasts. And so you can obviously find, if you search Guardian Out Digital, you can find the Go AI podcast with our associated with our YouTube channel. And I find that fascinating because just as a consumer myself, I always go to Spotify or Apple for a podcast.
Mhm.
But the younger generations, and even people that are searching, how to or to do something on through YouTube, I, they are listening to podcasts through that platform.
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated by just the growth here this year, and then just the foreshadowing of what's to come.
Yeah. I mean, YouTube, I'm pretty sure they've actually also outstripped like regular TV providers as well.
Yes, they have, which
Yeah.
is also just bananas.
Yeah. For anyone looking to advertise on YouTube, it's probably a good bet. Um, but yeah, another AI area that I think we should discuss is agentic AI,
Yes.
AI agents. Now, the term AI agent has been used for a while to where it used to just apply to like chatbots as well, or just any AI really that you would use. Now it's gotten a little more specific, that term, to where it's particularly about AI to where you can kind of just give it a directive and you can kind of put your hands up and it'll go and do it. And you kind of have like a hands free experience of it going to say, order something for you on Amazon,
It's kinda like an assistant.
basically like an
Yeah.
assistant. Fill out a spreadsheet, look through a document to try to find, make certain changes. Really, it's getting to the point where you can just have the AI use the internet for you, and while you have your own window up on your computer and another window going with the AI, so you can kind of just virtually kind of just double what you're doing.
Talk
It's
about a maximum efficiency.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Gloating yourself.
So yeah, I would say for any business owner wondering where AI is headed over the next year and certainly the next few years, um, just keep AI agents in mind because you'll be seeing more and more. OpenAI. These companies they release so many tools that it's kind of hard to keep up with them all. But OpenAI has Operator is the name. I think it's a callback to just when people would use the
Yeah,
phone and say, "Hey, Operator, do
need
this for
help.
me."
Yeah. Well, and
And
then what's
yeah,
the difference between Agenics or what did you just
agentic.
Agentic? So
Mhm.
tell the audience a little bit about that. That is the AI agents?
Yes, those are the
Gotcha.
AI
Okay.
agents that basically are like virtual assistants and will, again, it's like a hands-free experience,
Okay.
or really more like a have your hands do it something else while the AI's hands are doing something for you.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's kind of just having like a yeah, basically just being able to outsource certain
Tasks.
tasks that go beyond just generate an image or generate a blog or whatever it may be.
Like, hey, sift through my email and find
Mhm.
everything from Ellie Puckett and then summarize this into
Yes.
like XYZ. Like it just,
Mhm.
okay, got it. Have you tried it?
I've seen videos of it because I mean, they tend to like roll these out to like very select, like you kind of need to like be like within a certain
Kind of like Jermaine
exclusive.
Watkins, where he was able to
Yeah.
beta test some
Yeah.
things at podcast guest.
You need to be pretty well known within like within like your tech community as like a developer, for instance, because they tend to give it to developers and say, hey, can you kind of give us feedback
Hmm.
on what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong here? Because they're the ones who are kind of just like can really kind of analyze it on a technical level and say, I would do this differently. But yeah, I mean, it'll be, and it's also operators on like the $200 a month tier where you read reviews of it and they say, not worth it. It's,
Uh,
they, not yet at least.
yeah, like they were still
Yeah.
working out some kinks for
Yes.
that.
But it's definitely ambitious. I've read about there's a AI search engine company called Perplexity that
Yes,
has a
there.
version.
Yeah.
What's common across it is kind of you can kind of, if you had this level of trust, give your kind of payment info and other personal information to it and say, hey, when you want to buy something or order something, it already has that information. It just inputs it. Then it says, hey, are you ready to do you approve the order? Like we already have your information in there. So it can kind of just you can just say,
Go.
I want this product and it'll go and do it and then it'll just pop up a window to you and say, all right, you ready to purchase? Yep. Then boom.
I don't trust it yet that far to give
Hmm.
my credit card information
Yeah.
yet. But I'm sure it'll be soon. I mean, it's already out there and auto saved to Amazon and everything else, right?
Hmm.
So
That'll be the argument is like, hey, you already have given your information. Might as well let the AI take it over.
like do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be more efficient for me.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, I think too, from like a feedback standpoint from guests here halfway through the year, everyone's really still reverberating what they said in 2024. Don't be an ostrich. Don't be scared of it. Like start using it. And so, when I think about when we started this till now, I'm hoping that more business owners have recognized that this is not something that they can just continue to hide from. It's here, it's happening now. So, um, you need to start just absorbing and diving into whether it's just your as yourself as the business owner to get more acclimated or, surround yourself with people that are. I think that's going to be just even more important if people haven't started to do that now.
Yeah. And it's worth, I would say for business owners, it's the high tech stuff of AI is really on the development end
Yeah.
and the studying it and the using it is they develop these tools to be low tech.
Yeah.
So you don't need to, if you're intimidated just by the very concept of artificial intelligence, um, it's they're making it easy for everybody to use.
Yeah.
So that's really the thing. Even if you're still a hole out and haven't used ChatGPT, just type it in ChatGPT on Google, and you'll see how easy it is to use.
That's the takeaway.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's so funny, I think one of the guests said, "Just ask it something,"
yeah,
like anything. Like, just start having a conversation, and,
mhm.
that's all you have to do is start there.
Yeah. It's like our guest said, if you don't know what it can do for you, ask it what it can do for you because it
Yeah,
can give you that answer.
yeah, tell it a little
Yeah.
bit about yourself and
Mhm.
ask it a few questions. So, yeah,
Mhm.
this is your call to go and visit ChatGPT after this if you haven't, and just start practicing.
Get used to it. Because what's gonna happen is that you're just gonna find AI tools popping up everywhere
Yeah.
you go, including for business owners. I mean, if you're serious about your digital marketing, you're gonna be having a profile for your business on, the key social media platforms, and you'll find that you're gonna need to be using AI, getting familiar with AI on those platforms on the side of generating content, but also, like generating replies, like auto generating
Yeah.
replies to like comments on your posts, to just more back end stuff like, analyzing advertisements and optimizing your advertising methods on those platforms.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I'm still trying to learn more about, but I haven't like really consumed a lot of news about it, ethics when it comes to AI. I feel like you have hundreds of thousands of people that are
Mhm,
still working on the development side, the high
mhm,
tech side, but not as many
mhm,
working on the actual ethical side. Have
mhm.
you heard any updates?
A lot of it's just like it's weird because it's sort of they just keep surprising themselves with what the AI can do, and so it's sort of like you don't really know how powerful it will actually be until you have it. So it's almost like you kinda they can't know for sure what exactly it will or won't do because they make these AI, um, things to naturally be, like, wide in scope of what it can do for people.
Yeah,
Like ChatGPT, it can create you a poem, it can also create an essay about a historical event. So it's supposed to be really wide range, and when you have such a wide range of actions that it can perform, it's hard to really mitigate ahead of time and guess every single instance of an unethical use.
sure.
And so it is sort of trial and error and just, I think a lot of these companies approach it from the side of just we'll try to take care of the big bad act bad actor uses before we put it out, but then once it gets out, like the smaller stuff relative to the company.
We'll work out those kinks when they
Yeah,
arise.
and really they use the public
Guinea pig?
like a guinea pig.
Beta testing?
Yeah, basically it is beta testing. I mean, that's why so much of this is still free to use or just fairly cheap to use if you
Yeah.
have a subscription because these are not really finished products. They're all works in progress that are working toward better and better AI products. And so you're really kind of just helping these companies figure out, okay, how can it be used correctly? How can it be misused? And so a lot of the burden does fall on um, the companies and the users themselves. But of course, there's a finite amount of companies that will be completely ethical
Yeah.
and users that'll be completely ethical. So that's kind of
Well, and I
the
mean, you could argue that right now there's probably very few that
yeah.
are completely ethical,
Hmm.
just in general.
Yeah.
Well, what else are you excited about, Connor, here in the back half of the year?
I would say just seeing more and more. I'm kind of just interested to see just what weird, like small tools that kind of don't get as much attention. Like we all know ChatGPT, but like I was mentioning, they put out so many different tools to where you really do need to be paying attention. Like Operator, I think a lot of people
Yeah.
still don't know that these agentic AI agents really are, a thing that are going to be here pretty soon in many of our daily lives, even if they're already available for many
Yep.
people to already use. So I would just say, just what are the like wild, like whoa moments that are going to be in the next half of the year? Because there is at least a few times a year there's going to be something that kind of shakes everybody in the industry up. with DeepSeek being one of them, even though
Kicked it off.
that
Yeah.
was more of like a nerdy technical one where it's like, oh, look at how they did it with so few computer chips kind
Yeah.
of one.
And so inexpensively.
Yeah, it wasn't super flashy, but it's still has implications for just cheaper AI for both development and using.
Well, and I'm excited for just to see where legislation goes too. I
Mhm,
mean, I think, this time last year we were talking about watermarks,
mhm,
and it's just interesting how fast it's moving and, the legislation doesn't move fast at all and it's
mhm,
certainly not keeping up. So I'm curious to see that at the end of this year, 2025, what that
mhm.
looks like.
Yeah, it looks like legislation wise, there is a big push within the government to adopt AI within agencies and really kind of experiment to see how much of the how much of government automations can you integrate AI into. And there was even a memo sent after an executive order in January saying that each agency will have an AI chief that will basically direct, like, hey, how can this particular agency use AI? And so I would say that's kind of that's going to be a big trend, is just opening the door to seeing, okay, how can we really use AI in both the public and the private sector, and to just keep on kind of just opening the door to more and more spending and development on AI. And yeah, I think mostly just in the interest of keeping America competitive, because I do think DeepSeek was kind of a shock
Yeah.
and saying, here's what other countries can do. And so,
Well, sounds like we have some content that, or we'll be busy
mhm.
creating more content that for the Go AI podcast.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for listening. If you have questions or you want us to talk about a topic, feel free to drop it in the comments below and stay tuned for the next Go AI podcast episode. We're excited you're with us.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.